Welcome to Go Home Heat, a RAstlin podcast. We will be talking with Go Home Heat Kid Ray.
Me? What's my name?
New Japan Jerry.
What's my name?
Myself,
Should I be
KP.
RP? Since you're KP? No, that's not going to...
No, I think Ray is like short enough. You know what I mean?
It's only one more letter.
I think RP actually... I think RP requires more effort to say than Ray.
It does.
We will
RP.
be discussing Impact Wrestling a little bit now. Do you want to try to go through a little New Japan today?
There hasn't been a whole lot going on. It's mostly the leading up to the Best of the Super Juniors World Tag League Tour, which is going to be great, but it's not a lot going on currently.
Wait, wasn't there something last night?
I believe there was a match for the tag team titles between...
I think spoiler alert, I think something big happened last night. But it was like 3 a.m. We'll go watch it and we'll talk about it maybe in the next podcast.
Yes.
But we won't go into that then because we haven't watched it yet. I apologize. AEW's leading into Full Gear. We're going to be running this late, so you're probably going to listen to this maybe, and then you might listen to the 2 episodes if we wind up recording post Full Gear back to back to give you a full gear understanding.
Yes.
Okay. Scott D'Amore
That's the guy.
has been on the phone with doctors a lot lately. This time it is Bravo holding on to his life in a self-induced coma.
Wait, self-induced?
I think it's more medically.
What does a self-induced coma mean?
That would be like a trance of some kind, I would guess.
Is a self-induced coma just hitting your head against a wall?
Yes.
No, it'd be more
So he's
like...
Ryback.
That's meditation.
No, he's Goldberg.
Okay.
Oh.
Bang.
Let's move into Tommy Dreamer is there, and he is dressed like Sherlock Holmes and will not rest until he figures out who has done this dastardly deed. Who shot Johnny Bravo?
Gosh.
Dun, 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 dun.
I remember he narrowed it down to 10 people.
10.
If I remember correctly.
Basically the people that were on the stage.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh Matthews and Madison Rain are on commentary. We have a title match to start this thing off with. Su Yung versus Deonna Purrazzo. Purrazzo is so good at mat wrestling.
Yeah. I've been very impressed with her.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was good. It was kind of the same thing they did with the EY match where Rich Swann was wrestling in street pants, and they kind of gave you quick greatest hits of the pay-per-view match. They did the same thing kind of here, and then it winds up being the kind of thing where Kimberly tries to throw a chair into the ring to help Purrazzo, so Young gets a hold of it, utilizes it, we get the DQ, and that will wind up being a little thread that goes through the show somewhat. So currently Su Yung, the Undead Bride, has held on to the title because you can't lose the title on a DQ unless it's dictated such.
They have a married couple as the top champs in Impact. Su Yung and Rich Swann.
Pretty cool. And a married couple on commentary.
Yeah.
Those people like each other over there.
Yeah.
Probably.
Imagine being...
Dude, yeah, and imagine the pins and needles you walk on around there if they ever get mad at each other. Okay. Heath is ready to sign the deal, but D'Amore wants to wait until Heath is healthy. It's all there. He says he will be healthy sooner than later, and he is frustrated by the lack of faith in his ability to get well. I don't know where this is going, but I'm interested because I find Heath fascinating.
Did they ever say what his injury was?
They acted like a knee.
Yeah.
I could have sworn during the match it was a rib or something. He kept holding his rib.
I think that was... I mean, he was hobbling as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was more for support, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's something like that.
He looked bad, though. It
looked rough.
Frustrating, yeah. Purrazzo's legal team comes to D'Amore next. I mean, literally, one walks out. Scott D'Amore has a rough day every day.
Yeah.
And he lets him know that, by golly, that wasn't fair what happened to my client out there. And D'Amore says that no problem, she can have a shot at Turning Point. But it's going to be an anything goes type of rematch, and tell your client she can be happy about her match because she's in there with the Undead Bride, and the Undead Bride is allowed to do anything she wants to her. I'm sure your client will love that.
Yes.
Feel free to go give her the news. Rich Swann and Eddie Edwards can't wait to wrestle Sami Callihan. And Wait, it's Sammy Callahan and I'm sorry.
Ken Shamrock?
Nope.
Moose?
EY.
EY. Damn.
Because Eddie has a problem with Callahan.
Right.
Rich has a problem. So that's
a lot of crazy in one ring.
A lot of crazy in one ring, and it's and Shamrock exists, so how far can he be away, right? So then we wind up next with Chris Bay versus Trey Miguel.
I heard this was a banger.
It was fantastic. Now Bay winds up going over hook leg on Trey and gets the pinfall, but if you didn't get a opportunity to watch it, even if you just want to pick one match out of that show, I highly recommend it. These guys, Trey Miguel is so good, and Bay is just as good.
Oh, he's getting better constantly.
Their X division is just so fantastic. I love it. Now, locker room talk, we have Madison Rayne and Johnny Swinger, Jordani Grace, and Tennille Dashwood come in. Tennille, of course, with Caleb with a K. And
I did learn that is actually Caleb Conley.
Excellent.
I had to make sure, but yeah, it is Caleb Conley.
So Madison wants to know what they're going to do about this tag team division, to which Jordani is open to the idea of teaming with Tennille Dashwood because Tennille Dashwood would be a formidable tag team. Tennille, on the other hand, as before Grace can get around to asking her, although it's fairly obvious that that's where she's going, Tennille asked Madison Rayne because they would be better. And Grace, then they gush all over each other across from Grace, and Grace eventually exits via stage left. Frustrated, which I don't blame her. She's better than both them girls.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But Dreamer quizzes the ref, Brandon. Because if you remember when Falaba and Swinger were wrestling to find out who was going to be the best man, Bravo tore the refereeing in that match apart. He restarted that match because he can't stand terrible refereeing. So that man has an axe to grind with Bravo, and maybe he shot him. Evidently not, though. Because we move on to Swinger and Cody. They're bickering about each other, and they have a match together. They'll have to come in and do another interview because they can't get their things straight here. Rohit Raju does a Rohit challenge thing. TJP comes out and believes that Rohit's a coward. TJP gives a great promo. He explains how you may think all I do is walk up here and drink coffee and then perform. He said, and that's sort of true, and then he starts rattling off his accolades and telling you why he is important in the wrestling world. And it really sounds good coming out of his mouth. I haven't heard him give a promo at this level before. He manages to accomplish it here. I love the X Division. Love it. Jim Miller is with Saban, and he calls out Romero and Larry D for their belly-to-belly squishing of his tag team partner. D'Amore winds up settling the Rohit TJP argument by saying they'll have an X Division title match next week, but if TJP loses, he's out of the title picture. Ethan Page with Josh Alexander versus Doc Gallows with Carl Anderson. Gallows winds up knocking out Page with a super kick to the head. There is some form of a distraction. He walks right into it. I could not believe a super kick to the head finished a match 1, 2, 3, and Doc Gallows at that. But it did actually happen, and the Good Brothers wound up clearing the ring after a post-match brawl. Gia Miller is with Swoggle, and Swoggle has got a book coming out, and Brian Myers comes in and calls him very bad names, including a circus freak, and he is quite the bully, and we hope that Brian Myers gets his comeuppance soon. Doubting that Swoggle will be allowed to do it without help from somebody else.
Yeah, maybe Tommy Dreamer again.
Always Tommy Dreamer.
Maybe Tommy Dreamer will be in the trash can this time.
Huge trash dumpster.
Yes.
Trash dumpster.
Gonna need something a little bigger.
Cody Deaner with Jake versus Johnny Swinger. And Swinger, this match is exactly what you would think. Deaner drinks beer during it. Swinger does okay. The entertaining part, of course, is the Swinger's chair distraction. Similar to what we saw earlier, but when the ref notices it and grabs it, or actually it's grabbed by cousin Jake, ref pulls it away. We get the famous loaded fanny pack move for the finish.
Dastardly.
Effective. Dastardly. What? Moose is next, and he lets Rich Swann know his title is not the most important title on the show. It is the NXT. No, it's not. Not the NXT title. It's the TNA title. Wow. Totally apologize. Shows footage of himself beating up Willie Mack. Willie Mack attacks. Moose overwhelms him, chokes him with a camera cord, and it looks like we are going into a Willie Mack Moose promo. Somebody was nice enough to put up a match of theirs online the other day, showing what those guys do when they're in the ring together. I cannot wait to see a couple of matches with these guys.
Very excited.
Yeah. Willie Mack is fantastic.
Dude, and Moose is such a good performer.
Right. This is going to be great.
He saved Ken Shamrock's life.
He did. And in addition, like, he's just very giving. I've said this time and time again, where he sells great.
Right.
He doesn't do the almost stereotypical big man thing where you just kind of shrug off stuff. He doesn't really do that.
No.
Which is refreshing, honestly.
Right, and in this company, that's important because he's going to wrestle guys smaller that have to be formidable or else the whole show doesn't make sense.
He's easily the biggest guy in the company.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know who would be close.
Gallows.
That's true.
But
Moose
the
is like thicker, though. You know what I mean?
Well, the difference is Moose can wrestle better.
Well,
I was gonna
is,
say Moose can wrestle, but that seemed too mean.
Well, the other thing is too, at this point in Gallows' career, the knees aren't what they once were. It's a little tougher for him to move around, and he was never the athlete Moose is.
No,
not many people are. You know, that's
not even
Moose
when
really
he was
is.
Festus.
I saw him play tennis.
Not even when he was fake Kane.
Saw him play basketball. All in promos earlier this year.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Are you telling me that Moose is better than Festus?
I'm telling you that Moose is a jack of all trades and also a master of all trades.
Yes.
That's
that
what I'm
was a
saying.
joke.
He's the bestest.
I was joking.
He's the bestest. He's even better than the formerly known Festus.
He is. That's a fact. I can't wait for him to come out with, like, what was Festus's thing? Like a paper
Festus,
bag over it or something like
Festus,
that?
Festus was the one who went, when he walked out, and when you hit him with a bell, not hit him with a bell, but when you rang a bell, he would just turn into a blood-hungry monster that would destroy people.
That sounds like a 2007 gimmick.
Yeah, that was 2007.
Rich Swann versus Chris Bay. And Chris Bay. They're talking backstage. Bay starts out friendly, kind of wants a title shot. Swann lets him know he really hasn't done anything to deserve it. And as this is starting to go south, we have Eddie come up and tell him it's time to come on. And so he gets up and leaves the room, and Chris seems very frustrated with all this. Father James Mitchell, wedding party, the whole wedding party's there. James Mitchell says that there's no way they could possibly think that he would do something like this because he's such a, first-class guy.
Yeah.
Then he kind of laughs that off because he realizes that's baloney. He's totally capable of murdering
kind of the devil.
Yes. But anyway, so like we said, the 10 people on stage are all capable of doing this, and we're going to start whittling this down as the episodes go by, figuring out who shot Johnny Bravo.
I'm excited.
Sami Callihan, Eric Young versus Eddie and Rich Swann. This is a pretty good little grudge match. When Rich has EY tied up outside, later in the match, Shamrock comes down, punches Swann between the shoulder blades, roughs him up. The distraction roll up on for Callihan. Callihan rolls up Eddie after the distraction. The three of them begin to pummel the good guys here, and then as we cut to credits to end this wonderful episode of Impact, Josh Matthews said, "If these three rule the world, we are in trouble." If I rule the world. Imagine that. Now on to the main event of the wrestling week. TNT's AEW.
Dynamite.
Jericho is in red velvet, head to toe minus the no shirt, black gloves.
I don't know how many suit jackets that guy owns, but it's quite a few.
Impressive.
I don't think I've ever seen that guy not in some jacket of some
He's
kind.
billing the cons.
Yes.
He may have the cons hiring like Prince's, whoever made Prince's wardrobes. He's always showing up with a new suit.
Yes.
New outfit. Luckily, though, they don't have to work on shirts, so they save time there. Now, he's introing and talking up his crew. Hagar, talking about how tough they are. Hagar has been in a fight due to the fact that he is a mixed martial artist. Bellator, I believe,
Yes.
and he won a fight. He's undefeated, 3-0 in Bellator, and he was roughed up pretty good, although he won.
Both black eyes.
The point of all this, these guys are tough guy things, is because when MJF cuts him off, Jericho winds up eventually, and this is a good little back, they've had great back and forth, but MJF is on his way to the ring to fight a tag team match against Ortiz and Guevara. Jericho lets him know that all these guys are tough. I'm tough. You are not a tough guy. You're soft. You won't do whatever it takes.
They have that killer instinct that MJF does not.
Right. And also Jericho sows the seeds that maybe Wardlow doesn't need him around, doesn't need MJF, which is another undercurrent throwing through this program every week. Now, Ortiz and Guevara, like I said, versus MJF and Wardlow. Jericho thinks MJF soft is the underlying theme here when we start this match. Ross, Excalibur, Shivani, Jericho are on commentary tonight, and commentary points out MJF as being opportunistic. They continue to point out that he doesn't get into the ring until Wardlow has swung the things in his direction. I felt like this was a pretty good match, and I felt like they did a good job. And you know what I really felt like watching this? Sammy Guevara does not get to do what he's great at as much as I would like. Get him away from Matt Hardy. And nothing against Matt.
No.
But that dude can wrestle
go.
his freaking butt off.
This match was incredible.
Dude, they were going crazy.
This was a great way to open.
And you know what else?
High energy.
Ortiz is so good. Dude,
It's like, okay, I'm taking this back. This is like, not completely, but this is like how WCW would open. Not WCW. Yeah, WCW.
Yeah.
With the cruiserweight and the high action and the fast-pacedness.
It's just immediately engaging.
Except on this show, it didn't go immediately downhill when Hulk Hogan showed up. And Hulk Hogan didn't show up. So
well, the other
That's
thing
always
is, too, they put their Hogan on commentary all night. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
he's the Hollywood. That's what he's doing. He's playing a Hollywood role.
He's
right?
also not like absorbing the whole show.
Well, then he can still wrestle. And he's not, even though he was on commentary the whole time and he was underlying
Hogan
storylines the whole night.
He
wasn't just underlining his storyline the whole night.
You say he could still wrestle. Hogan never could wrestle.
Correct.
But no, I actually want to point out, because it is a theme that Jericho does always. Every time he's on commentary, he does underline all of the stories.
And all the strengths.
Not just his.
Of everybody that's on the company. He always talks about them.
He gets it.
I want to point this out, too, because I never see this. MJF is stomping a mud hole in Santana in the corner. And Santana is physically, he's got his hands on the ropes like he's withstanding, but you can't tell what he's really doing, which is pulling himself towards MJF's foot every time he gets pushed to the bottom, which is giving you the illusion of this horrible stomping, bouncing off the ground. Santana gets all the details correctly. Ortiz. I'm sorry, Ortiz.
Oh, yeah.
Gets all the little things correct in wrestling. It's why it frustrates me to all get out when I see there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of the show. It's fun for a lot of people. But when I see Santana and Ortiz in comedy skits, and when I see Guevara flopping his arms inside a jacket that's too big for him, I get all that, but boy, can those guys wrestle.
I would like to see them have serious runs at a belt.
Right. I mean, I loved LAX, and I feel like, and Guevara could have been in LAX. You know what I mean? He's boom.
So good.
Okay. Now, of course, the finish winds up being, well, you had a spot in there, of course, speaking of Matt Hardy, where he's dressed as Serpentico, and he does throw a chair really well, safely. In contrast to what Guevara did to him. He throws a chair safely at Guevara, the opposite of a receipt. Hits him in the head, and it works well, right? And then we wind up with the Salt of the Earth armbar for the finish there. And then afterwards, the guy who's soft and won't do everything brutally attacks Jericho.
Oh, dude, I loved it.
And Jericho smiled when he got up and walked away.
You
like the whole thing, the whole theme.
It was great.
I agree. I totally agree. Now, let's see where we go here, because the next thing up is Kip with Miro as the wrestler Miro, as in he will be wrestling.
Yes, first singles match in 9 months.
Versus Trent with Taylor outside. And the Miro kick and the clutch win are how this thing finishes up. What did you think about the match?
The match itself was good.
Okay.
I think Trent's a really, really underrated worker in a lot of ways.
Yes.
I think he does basically everything well.
Mm-hmm.
I think Miro is brushing off ring rust and is still doing quite well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll fit into a really good spot in the company in terms of how he performs. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
it's just adding to the cornucopia of wrestling styles available.
Correct.
And I think that's the strength of AEW. I'm not huge on the feud. It feels like the whole thing where he like speared the arcade cabinet and then Kip's angry about it. I'm just not thrilled with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fine and I don't like hate it, but it's at the same time, it's like, huh, okay. I feel like Kip can do better, and I feel like Miro can do better.
They are comedic. Miro went from, and don't get me wrong, the storyline what he was in the other company, brutal. But he went from comedic relief on one channel to comedic relief on the other, and he's a killer. And that's weird to me because I'd also, again, I get that you have to have comedy in the show. I get that it has to be a buffet of different things. Kip can really wrestle as well. And Penelope can really wrestle as well.
I would like to see them in a different role rather than this.
Or just expand it. Let him do a little less of this, a little more of the other. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to be tongue-in-cheek funny. But again, like you said, there was nothing wrong with it. It's a personal preference thing, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, it just doesn't thrill me as much as I would like it to.
Post-match fight, Orange Cassidy with a save. You liked all that?
Yeah, I do like how it kind of bleeds into different parts of the show, especially with like John Silver and like showing up at different points. You know what I mean? Like, even if people in like Best Friends in Orange Cassidy, that group, they're in different feuds and that kind of bleeds into each other a little bit. I like that.
Okay. Now that... Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have... Oh, never mind. Sorry. I didn't have a strong butt there.
Okay.
I haven't been doing enough squats.
There it is. Ross interview with Hangman. Tensions are high.
I loved that.
The whole point. You're drinking on that drink pretty good there. You're nervous, aren't you? Admitting that he's nervous.
This is what JR should be doing.
JR is so good at this kind of thing.
Like, he's not the best at commentary anymore. Every time he makes an offhand comment, that makes me uncomfortable.
Well,
almost
the
every
other
show.
thing is,
but
if you're gonna have
this, okay, I'm
go,
sorry.
Go. You're good.
With this is like, you can redo it, and you can, like, whenever you make a mistake, you can. It's not live. You can redo it, and JR's kind of at the age right now where he needs that, and that's not diss to JR. Like, he's rusty a little,
right?
And I think
the other thing is,
and Hangman too. Nothing against Hangman. No. Okay, that probably came across wrong. Hangman was great too.
Yes.
Not Hangman was rusty too.
Yeah, okay.
That was that. I'm sorry.
The other thing is too, JR, a 3-man commentary team and now 4-man commentary team.
It gets to be a lot.
It does kind of turn into sometimes with Ross, and again, I mean, I've been listening to JR since I was probably 13 or 14. It does seem like sometimes he feels like I gotta get like you know how a wrestling match everybody's trying to get their shit in?
Yeah.
Pardon my French. That's what it feels like sometimes with him. I need to make sure that, and not that I think he knows that his role is to be the Southern
old school
quip,
yeah.
Southern quip.
Yes.
And so I think that sometimes he tries to fit him in there, and Excalibur's talking and Tony's talking, or like Now the good thing about last night, or I watched it last night. The good thing about Wednesday night was with Jericho there. Jericho's feeding him lines.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Jericho's pitching him softballs constantly.
Correct, which is so much better.
Yes.
Tony tries, but it's a little different because Excalibur's so pop on the ball.
I mean,
you know
Excalibur's like the play-by-play, moment
He's
by
so
moment.
good.
He's great at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Bucks
So
FTR.
JR kind of gets lost in the mix there.
It can be where he just kind of feels like he might have to say something, and it doesn't always.
And then sometimes he says something that makes you pretty uncomfortable.
It's like, that's weird, bud.
That's
Bucks
strange. You're
FTR
like
video package. What do we think?
I thought the video package itself was pretty good. I am kind of overall really not thrilled with this. I think this storyline has been vastly underwhelming. And I feel like it's the first time where I'm like,
correct?
They
FTR.
need to
Yes.
need to give us a good payoff tonight with a good match.
oh, dude, I have no doubt in my mind that the match will not slap ass.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon my French as well. But this match is going to rule. You have a question about my turn of phrase.
That term was strange. Okay, so Taz, Starks, and Brian Cage come to the ring.
Yes.
And they don't have a match at this pay-per-view, but don't worry because they're going to be a force to be reckoned with at Full Gear, regardless of whether or not they're supposed to be there. I liked it.
I do like it because it does feel in some ways that they have been almost lost in the shuffle, and I do like their declaration of they are going to be a force because they have been winning.
And it makes me feel like, too, we're going to finish 2 feuds and start 2 feuds coming out of this.
I absolutely feel that.
I love it. I love it. Okay, now Sammy attacks Matt backstage, hits a twist of fate. Shout out to Lita.
Yes.
Like it. Bucks versus Private Party is next. Matt is hurt from weeks. Matt, the Bucks version of Matt, is hurt from weeks ago. It's okay. You can let it die. FTR onslaught causing this injury, and he sells that injury throughout the match. The Bucks dominate early. Private Party is so good. Jericho puts over Cassidy so much. It's well done. Then, of course, you wind up having the win from the Bucks there to finish it off, and Excalibur wonders at what cost come victory.
It was not an easy victory for the
And
Bucks.
even more so what cost, because FTR jumps the Bucks afterwards. And again, we have more problems. And like you said, you're not real pumped about the feud so far. However,
I feel as though the Bucks were trying to go for a specific kind of like not face, not heel thing, and it ended up being confusing because it was confusing.
they're almost back to being faces.
This whole like fighting through an injury match is very face-like, and that kind of it's like, well, I guess you're faces now
After kicking Tony Schiavone.
after kicking Tony,
Yeah.
beloved Tony
The
Schiavone.
beloved Tony Schiavone.
The after-match segment in the ring, I really, really liked, though.
Now, Hangman makes the save here.
Hangman comes out.
Does that interest you?
Yes. I think this adds layers to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because Hangman comes out, because Matt really looked rough there.
Mm-hmm.
Might have, like, permanently injured him.
I agree.
So Hangman comes out, makes the save. Then, a little bit later, Kenny comes out as well. I thought the order was quite important there.
Very.
And I felt like the delay from Kenny was also quite important. But Kenny goes out there. He and Hangman have a short thing where they basically do a little fist bump or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Then Kenny turns away, and Hangman suddenly gets mad. He's saying to him, he's like, "Don't turn your back on me."
Right.
Because their whole there was a video package somewhere in the show of Kenny Hangman, which was really good. I really liked it. I don't know if that's coming up or if that was earlier, but I don't know, man. The dynamic between these two going into their match is great.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea that even if Kenny was in a tag team with Hangman, dude, they won gold. They had great matches. They were top of the division in a highly contested division.
Running the best tag team division in the world together.
Yeah. And then Kenny evidently does not think that Hangman's anywhere near his level.
Right.
Still, after all that, after Hangman does time after time, after Kenny basically loses the belts through Kenny's mistake.
Right.
And he still doesn't see Hangman as a peer.
Right.
He still sees him as like the young boy in the group.
Right.
And Hangman just can't deal with that, dude. I love it.
I do like that they've been referring to Young Boy on camera in different wrestling things.
They
lately.
said it a bunch.
They did it on Impact for a while. You're my young boy. Swinger would use it.
Yeah, it does come from Japan.
What did Jericho have to explain it?
Yeah, they explained it a little bit.
Which was good too.
Dude, Johnny Swinger makes so many references to like old school Japanese wrestling.
He's so good.
Oh, he keeps saying like Baba-san and stuff.
Yes.
It's so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to get to I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this. The next segment was Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston in a no physicality or the match is off. Little promo square off. What did you think of these moments?
Good Lord. I love this segment to death.
Mm-hmm.
I loved everything about this segment. I do want to shout out that it was not very long.
Right. And Kingston said very little.
Dude.
He did a lot with his face. He showed frustration. He showed anger. Moxley did all the talking. Moxley laid it in hard, and
dude, it would like Kingston and Mox have pushed each other to new heights in terms of promo work. This was incredible. This was like career highlight worthy for both of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? This was face off of the year material.
Right. And sometimes less is more.
It wasn't very long.
Because you wanted more. You wanted them to fight.
So bad.
And they didn't give it to you because we're going to see them tonight. So they're going to fight.
I loved it, man. I want to give a shout out to just like every little facet of this was basically perfect. Mox never lied.
Right.
Mox never lied the entire time.
Right.
Kingston wouldn't let him talk at first because Kingston knows that Mox was saying the truth.
Right.
Dude, that look he got on his face when Mox brought up his mom sitting at the kitchen table, dude, that hits, bro.
Right.
The emotions were so raw and real. It's just, man, it's good TV.
It is.
It's good TV.
It is, and it has been for a month.
Dude, yes.
Do you see how good this is if you're a booker and let Kingston go over so you get a rematch? How could Moxley quit? How do you let that character quit? How do you write that in there?
I will, cause I do have that doubt in my heart. After Evil won the belts, I am no longer ever going to be like, well, the outcome of this match is completely determined. I don't think I'm ever going to be there.
Right.
Not for a while anyways. But I will think it's interesting if Kingston does lose, how he will, I feel like he'll really do some good work.
Right.
Especially because he'll probably spin off into an Archer feud.
And he hasn't, it's not going to be a burial.
No, God, by no means.
It's been an anointment.
Yes. Dude, this has been crowning.
Yes, absolutely.
I did want to have a short little aside on how I think as time has gone by and I've been underwhelmed by a lot of the character work that the Bucks do, I feel like I'm always going to be infinitely more compelled by something like this rather than an ironic wink wink nudge nudge, you know it's not real, are we faces, are we heels kind of thing that the Bucks really rely on.
I haven't thought about it like that, but yeah.
I much prefer like this and the Hangman Kenny thing both feel very real.
They're correct. Well, they're not looking at you saying this isn't real.
Yeah, they're not looking at the camera winking at me going, "Oh, but we're friends in real life."
Right.
Or
kicking
somebody
that's not.
They're not going.
I get it.
They're not going. Yeah, you jobber.
And it's as time has gone on, especially this week, I really felt that with the Bucks, where I'm just like, man, I wish y'all would just be real.
Well, maybe this will end and we'll get something else coming out of this.
I certainly hope so.
I mean, I felt that a lot with just the Bucks in general, which might be why I have such a complicated relationship with them.
Because man, they put on some absolutely incredible matches, and then other times you'll watch a match and you'll just be like, well, I hated that. Or I just didn't. I don't like.
It was athletic, but I hate it.
Their Lucha Bros match, which was wildly dangerous, had a bunch of wild spots that were extremely dangerous, and I felt like, man, they're just gonna kill themselves for a spot that gets a cheap pop. That kind of put me off.
Yeah.
But even outside of their wrestling, it's just like a lot of the stuff they do is very wink wink nudge nudge, and I know that's how they built their whole brand. That's how they built BTE. That's their thing.
There's no denying that it's worked.
I cannot deny the success. But
the whole company's based on it, partially.
Yeah. But the thing is, I feel like the people in charge do realize that they have to have some very real stuff, and that's been the most popular segments. The most highly regarded segments have been that, while all the other stuff has been like, okay, it's all right.
Absolutely, and that'll be interesting for something that comes up later. Now, the Bastard Pac has a video package coming, and I thought this was great. There were multiple versions of his personality in the room.
Whoever directed that, hire him immediately.
Yes, that was great.
Immediately.
Right. And he's coming. He's tired. He's been by himself. Man. He's ready to go.
Dude, that whole video was awesome.
I missed him so much.
Red Velvet with Nyla Rose in a match against one another with Vicky Guerrero, Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. Now, Red Velvet is accompanied by Brandy Rose.
Signee, currently in the Nightmare family, I think. I think she has potential.
Yes. Now, this wound up being a squash, and then Vicky gets into it. Well, obviously, a squash for Nyla, who will be challenging for the women's title. And then Vicky gets into it kind of with Brandy before they go to Sheeta outside the the ring. What did you think about all of that?
This was certainly a match.
It existed.
That was wrestled.
And I feel bad that this match for the women's title has no build up, and I'm hoping desperately that they can really come out strong next time with an actual story, please.
What's the other women's match on the card?
It's Serena Deeb versus Allison Kay, which I hate to say is absolutely going to blow the AEW women's match out of the water.
I was going to ask, do we feel like that's going to be much better?
It's not even close. It's not even going to be remotely close. Allison Kay is an absolutely phenomenal wrestler.
No, we saw them wrestle each other in NWA, right?
Not Deeb and
No,
Sienna.
that was
Thunder Rosa and Sienna.
I apologize. Correct.
Thunder Rosa and Allison Kay is the name she goes by now. Allison Kay. Yeah, we watched that match. That match ruled.
Right.
That match they had even on
Deeb
Power
is very
next
good
week.
as well.
Dude, that match is going to be super, super good.
Don't you think they're going to want to go out there and show that they're better than the other two?
Yes.
Right.
I hope so. I hope
Right.
that pushes them. I hope
Right.
both of these matches are awesome, and I do think that Shida and Nyla can get there. I think
Right.
Nyla works a specific style of match which Shida can, if she can fit into that well and perform well and execute well, it will be compelling.
It has possibilities.
Absolutely.
She can. What was the first women's champion they had?
Riho. I do miss
She
Riho.
could wrestle the Riho version, but a little bigger, and it could be a little
more physical,
more believable in a way. And
I love that Riho Nyla match though.
Oh, absolutely,
It was awesome.
absolutely.
At every AEW podcast we say this. AEW's women's division needs to be changed.
He just mentioned
there are
two girls that can do it.
There are some that can do it, but there is an asterisk there.
The company has to want it, and the company has to be willing to give them greater direction, because the fact that this women's match for their belt has no build up is shameful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
I can't sugarcoat it. I can't say anything. It sucks.
They only have so many pay-per-views.
They only have 4 pay-per-views, and in the 3 months since the last one, you couldn't come up with anything.
Right.
I realize the circumstances have been weird. I think Nyla got tested at some point for COVID because she was exposed. But
did it have to be Nyla? Could we have put somebody else in there?
But the one point I wanted to make, and I immediately texted the group chat as soon as I saw the Allison Kay match was on the card. I was like, if AEW does not literally throw their whole, did you give a blank check to Allison Kay? Because they can and they should center the entire women's division around here. She's good enough for it. She's a phenomenal worker. She works well with everybody. She has had women's divisions centered around her multiple times before.
Right.
Impact did it.
Right.
She could be the cornerstone of a division if they are willing to pay for her, and she doesn't end up going somewhere else. I kind of don't see her going to NXT, in all honesty.
No.
At this point, she would probably be better off just in general going to some place where she can stand out and be.
Absolutely.
Which would be AEW.
She has a name.
Yes, she does, because she's great.
Right.
She was former NWA champion. She got her release from NWA, so she currently is a free agent, and I am just begging Tony Khan personally, please sign Allison Kay.
Next, Cinderella, don't know what you've got till it's gone. Don't know what you got till it's gone.
That was the Hangman Kenny.
I took my headphones off for a little while.
So beautiful. Hangman Page and Omega breaking up right there, the video package.
I liked it.
I feel like this was kind of weird because the rivalry feels so real, and this was really like cheesy.
It did feel. I will say that it was a little cheesy.
So cheesy, so thick with cheese, but it's fine.
I'm still super excited.
We have the Gun Club versus the Dark Order, number 10, John Silver, Colt Cabana, and then I wanted to specialize this because I get a text on my phone every time that I have this. I'm in this little thing, the group text thing for Cody, and like it's like me and everybody that else like in the country. It's not like me and him, right?
It's a joke. I think
it's a joke between us about it.
I don't know where the joke starts and I don't know where it ends.
He's just trying to hide the fact that Cody is his best friend.
But usually it's something to the effect of I'm up next.
Yes.
This time he specifically said my entrance is up next.
Dude, after Gun Club came out and like his music starts, I'm like, man, I hate this so much. I hate it, but I also kind of love to hate it, if that makes sense.
But he's a baby face.
It was the whole thing was strange to me.
At the end, I mean, yeah.
Okay, but the placement of it was strange to me, right? And it wasn't that it was bad; it was fine. And like you said off air that the youngest gun, the son,
Austin
got to showcase himself a little bit, which I think was really the point of it. Cody got to play kind of superheroish. Billy can still go.
Oh, absolutely.
Cole can still go. It was fine.
Billy's a phenomenal seller.
He is. He always has been. Austin winds up hitting the crossroads on one and then turns and pins the other one with his own finisher. Darby Allin is watching all of this from the rafters, so when it's over, after congratulating his teammates, Cody grabs the mic and lays it on pretty hard. And man, it felt like, dude, I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it. It felt like a Triple H promo. It did. It felt almost like a wink and a nod.
Yeah.
It's almost like,
I signed you. Nobody else wanted you, but don't let anybody think that the company doesn't want you, because the company wants you to be the champ, but you're not the ace player. I liked it. It almost
feels like if they do the storyline right, they're gonna do a he lived long enough to become the villain thing. But I don't know if they're going to do that.
I'm hoping that this will be a pivotal moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as soon as this happens tonight, it'll all click and make sense. Because it has felt a little back and forth on whether they were going to pull the trigger on doing something.
Mm-hmm.
This felt like they were setting something up then.
Okay, couple of questions.
It was not a pure babyface tears promo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like I said, this is going to wind up being the kind of thing where you'll probably wind up listening back to back if you're listening. And so we'll go through a couple of things. FTR Bucks, who wins?
Right.
Who wins?
Who wins?
FTR.
I almost want to say Bucks. The stipulation, I hope FTR wins. The stipulation of Bucks not ever challenging for the titles again if they lose, I don't see them doing the Cody route with that. It's weird that they also... Oh, yeah. I also wanted to add that to just the confusing mess that's kind of that feud. The whole stipulation where they can't challenge if they lose again. Why was that added? Why are you macking on Cody's flavor?
Right. I think the Bucks have to go over. Even without that stip, I think the Bucks have to go over. It's time. They've been telling us they're the best tag team in the world the whole time they've been in the company.
I feel that. I feel that as well.
MJF, Jericho.
MJF
has to win. We have to get these guys backstage bickering amongst themselves about being.
I feel like how. I feel like in a lot of wrestling, even if I kind of know the outcome, the how is very important. It's not just the name on the score sheet. You know what I mean? It's the how.
Somebody tries to help Jericho and cost Jericho the match. One of the guys that really doesn't want him in it. They swing with a chair. MJF ducks. They pit Jericho in the head. Something like that, where I didn't want it to happen, and I'm the reason why it happened.
Absolutely.
That kind of thing. And
unprotected headshot. Give Chris Jericho a concussion. Make sure he almost dies.
Gives MJF a reason to act like, thank you for putting me in the club, so he can be tongue-in-cheek with some dude about how you really wanted me here all along. We had that worked out right. The whole works. Championship match, we think Mox.
Probably Mox.
I can't see him saying I quit. If there wasn't a stip there, I could see something happening.
They might kayfabe kill Eddie Kingston.
Right,
dude. Eddie Kingston. I think Mox is winning.
Mox is gonna hit him with a car.
Sheeta Rose.
Mox is going to shoot him.
I kind of hope Nyla wins. Honestly,
I think Rose goes over.
I would prefer if Nyla won.
K Deebs.
Deebs.
D.
Well, the reason I say that is because Kay did get her release from NWA. It would be strange if she did that and then immediately won the NWA title. I'm not sure.
It'd be Impactish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I hope to God she sticks around.
Okay.
And Deebs as well.
Cody, Darby.
Darby has to win here.
Darby wins. Do we see Sting?
We see Sting. I guarantee a Sting performance. At some point, Sting is going to be at the show.
Hey, okay. Here's a better question.
That's a fact.
He winds up involved in Darby.
Here's a better question. Is Darby Allin going to take that coffin drop apron spot again?
Yes.
Will he take?
He'll
worse
probably
than
take
that
it.
spot?
Yeah, he'll probably do something worse, like on top of the ring post or something.
Okay, and so
we're gonna
How
is that gonna happen?
He will die.
Wait, no. So he'd have to be on the apron and he'd jump up to the ring post. Or would he be on the turnbuckle and then fall onto the ring post?
The physics of this are confusing, but I can imagine it'll happen.
Okay.
Physics has never stopped Darby Allin.
So that's a wrap. And
that is a wrap.
We're going to watch this and put out another episode, hopefully.
Oh, Hangman Kenny.
Hangman Kenny. Wow, I almost missed that.
How
what
did
do we
you
think?
miss that? Jeez.
Oof.
I'm hoping Hangman.
I'm in my heart, I'm rooting for Hangman Adam Page.
Kenny goes over.
In my mind,
Yeah.
Kenny goes over.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fact that I feel that way makes me feel bad. Because I feel like I am also doubting Hangman, despite being on his side, that I still don't believe in him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But isn't Kenny building to Mox?
I believe so.
That's what
I believe so, but
never know.
I don't know.
We
I
don't
don't know
know.
for certain.
We don't
Up
know.
until the bell rings.
That's right. Okay, so for Jared, for the
Me.
Go Home Heat Kid Ray,
Me.
for me KP, this has been a Go Home Heat production. Copyright 2020. Go home.
I feel about this.